Huh. Mortal Kombat's coming out soon. But I'm a Smash guy. I don't really give a shit about Mortal Kombat. Huh. You know what? Nah, I'm just gonna stick with Smash. Fuck Mortal Kombat. Fuck, that really hurt. Alright. Shit. What's up, guys? So, I decided through some very, persuasive arguments that I've been, kind of dealing with, that I would play Mortal Kombat 11. You know me, if you don't know me, I'm typically just a Smash Brothers player. I don't really play traditional fighting games, at all. You'll see me playing Smash Brothers and games like Smash Brothers, right? But you don't really see me playing traditional fighters all too often. But I decided to give Mortal Kombat 11 a try. I've played the games for quite some time, but never to a competitive level. So I kind of just thought, why not give it a try? So I picked up Mortal Kombat 11. Here's my copy here. And I thought, I would go into training mode. And there's a lot of cool things I like about this game. Now, there's maybe one thing I'm not the biggest fan of, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, the thing with Mortal Kombat 11 is that I haven't beaten the story mode at all, but so far, it's really cinematic and kind of cool. If there was anything I've always liked about NetherRealm's games, it's that their story modes have always just been kind of cool to look at. It feels like you're watching a movie, and that's cool. Fighting games don't typically have a sort of, really cool, grandiose cinematic storyline. You typically have them just kind of like text boxes for the most part. And hey, Smash Brothers barely had any cutscenes in their story mode. So it's if there's anything NetherRealm does well, it's that. And I guess some of the cinematics and the kind of the character models and whatnot, they look good. You might be wondering how the Switch version is, right? So the Switch version has its downgrades. Obviously, you're playing on a portable tablet, right? So it's not gonna look like the best thing ever. I'll probably put some stuff on screen so you guys can kind of see direct footage of Mortal Kombat 11. Now, the thing I can tell you is that Mortal Kombat 11, now, just to be clear, I'm no expert when it comes to the technical aspect of games, but they definitely lowered the resolution in favor of keeping the game running at 60 frames per second. Now, there was only one time I had a weird hiccup in the frame rate where it wasn't 60 frames per second, but for the most part, it's 60 frames per second. I haven't really seen that many drops yet. I have been playing the game. So as far as I'm concerned, Mortal Kombat 11 is a really good Switch port. You're playing the exact same game. It's still running at 60 frames per second. I guess in the competitive sense, it's just good. Right? It's not running anywhere, so it's not like your inputs would be wrong or anything. Your inputs are going to remain the same. It just won't look as pretty. I also wanted to point out that I really like how they did the crypt. Typically before, crypts were kind of just menus. I think Mortal Kombat 10 kind of went a step further beyond and made it so that you kind of had this first person dungeon crawling perspective while you looked around the crypt, and made it almost like an adventure in a sense. But Mortal Kombat 11 takes that and just goes continues in that path completely. You're in a third person perspective. You're playing as some dude. You have free movement. You can just walk around. You gain items and you do puzzles and all that stuff to find all the different collectibles. It feels like you're actually dungeon crawling in a way. But all this really is, for the most part, is how you collect and get unlockables. So it's kind of cool. I really kind of like that. They turn going to a menu and unlocking an item into a game, and I kind of like that. I like when games do that sort of thing. They feel more like a game. I'll say I like that. I really like that. Now the gameplay, right? Like I said, I've never been a competitive player when it comes to Mortal Kombat, but from what I can tell, it seems to be really good. I really seem to like it. I seem to have an easier time doing combos in this game than previous games. I don't know if that's because of me getting better as a player, or if it's because the game has things in place that makes it easier, but I would like to hope to think that I got better, right? Can you give me that credit, please? The gameplay also changes a couple of mechanics here and there. Now, I think before they just had a kind of universal bar for a lot of different things, but now you have a defensive bar and an offensive bar, and depending on what you're using your bar for, it'll go to a specific thing. So say you do kind of an evasive dash kind of thing or evasive roll, that'll take a piece of your bar on the defensive side of things. But on the offensive side, you can extend certain special moves, kind of like meter burning or like EX moves or whatever you want to call them. And they basically just make the moves better. They improve on them, and that costs some of your offensive bar. So I like the fact that they separated the bars in 2 different categories. I think that's a cool way of handling it. And while, again, I'm not a competitive player, like maybe someone who's a lot more qualified to talk about the competitive nature of Mortal Kombat can tell me why they're bad, but as far as I know, in this first impressions video, that seems kind of cool. I'm kind of into it. So far, from what I can tell, I like mostly everything in Mortal Kombat. The only thing, and it's time for me to get a little bit negative here, the only thing I'm not the biggest fan of is that, now I like the gear system, right? I like different variations of characters. I think that's a cool thing to have. I like being able to customize my characters, but for the most part, it kind of seems like the way you unlock them. Now, again, this is my first day, so I could be totally off, but it seems like they're kind of pushing you to try to buy microtransactions in a way, because you have to grind for a while to get some stuff, and I don't know the exact timing or whatever. Like I said, it's a first impression, so I could be totally off and totally wrong on this. So, you know, I might not know what I'm talking about when it comes to this, but it kind of just looks like they're trying to get you to buy microtransactions in hopes that, you know, well, by like making the grinding like a little more tedious in a sense, in hopes that you would buy it and, you know, give them more money. Gameplay is solid. I'm really liking the gameplay. The story mode looks just as high quality as every other NetherRealm fighting game to my knowledge. The new characters seem cool. I think the only one that I'm not the biggest fan of is Cetrion. She doesn't seem to be all that interesting. But I really like some of the new designs for characters. Like right now, the character I'm playing with is Scarlet. She seems pretty cool. Oh, and the fatalities are just as gruesome as ever, if not the most gruesome. I've played Mortal Kombat since, I think, 4, if I remember correctly. Maybe 3, I might be remembering a little wrong. But the fatalities are always, like, just fun to do. Every time they happen, they're just so satisfying. It's such a satisfying way of ending a game, right? Now, I could see sometimes people might not want to go through it every single time, but it's cool nonetheless. Do I recommend picking up the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11? I'll say this much: it's definitely worth it if you want to play portable. If you're someone who feels like, oh hey, I would really like to be able to lab while on the plane on the way to a tournament or something, like maybe you're a top player, right? And maybe you want to, I don't know, lab some extra time. The game runs at 60 frames per second. You can lab and it'll basically be just as responsive as it would have been if you were playing it on your PlayStation 4. It's that good. Like I said, there was like one particular instance where it did slow down for me, but that was not during any type of regular gameplay. That was actually while I was exploring in the crypt, and I was just running around and turning the camera around as much as I can and whatnot. I don't know if that's going to be a common occurrence in the crypt, but considering the crypt doesn't actually require like fast inputs or anything like that, it doesn't seem to bother me as much. I would highly, I'd definitely recommend it if you are looking at it as a companion piece sort of thing. What if you're someone who only wants to buy it on Switch and you don't want to buy like a second version? This port is solid. I don't think there's anything inherently super wrong about it. Lower resolution, that kind of thing is a given. You need to ask yourself if you feel that portability is worth the graphical downgrade. And that's not even like a Mortal Kombat question. That's just like, if you're buying any third-party game on your Switch, you need to be able to tell me which you prefer. Do you want the prettier graphics or do you want the portability? In terms of my own personal opinion, I think Mortal Kombat 11 is a better port than Doom. And as far as I'm concerned, I consider Doom to be the bare minimum of what I consider to be a good port. So, depending on your views on that, you may consider this to be not good enough. Or you might consider it to be just passable. Or if you're like me, you might consider this to be a really good port. However, you guys should definitely let me know how you feel, because right now I am totally loving this game. It is a lot of fun. I'm hoping to like actually get good at it and maybe stream it sometime. I don't know if I'll stream like story mode or anything like that. You guys could definitely let me know in the comments down below. I want to definitely support this game. I'm trying to get people involved in a competitive spirit in Nintendo. But it wouldn't hurt to be able to pick up this game in lab in the doctor's office, or on your way to a tournament, on the train, in the plane, or doing anything anywhere. Maybe even in the shitter. Maybe not at dinner though. It doesn't seem to work well too much. In that scenario, you might not be able to finish your food. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this port. And and make sure to stick to the end of this video, because that interesting outro that we had took us like 4 hours to film. Maybe less, maybe like 3 hours. It took a lot of hours to actually film that, and it was just a 32-second intro because me and my friends just joked around a little too much. But it was still fun to film regardless, so I thought I would edit in some outtakes at the very end. So if you're willing to stay and see us goof around for a little bit, feel free to stop by and chill. But like I said, let me know how you guys feel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And prepare for some fatalities coming through, because I'm hoping to get good.
I'm gonna show you 5 different emotions right now. Here's happiness, anger, sadness, joy, melancholy,
And depression.
Perfect. Yep. Not perfect.
That was beyond perfect. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, it was. That was good.
Oh shit. Because it really looks like a motherfucker got killed. Is that why you were laughing so hard?
I was laughing at that.
Because if you were laughing that hard because of that.
I was laughing at all of this.
What?
Like how it just went all the way over here too.
You think I put that there though, right?
Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
Well, I was gonna go downstairs in my Sub-Zero costume, right? But I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't go out here considering that's fucking coming out here looking like a fucking ninja crip. Blasted out here and shit. Look, oh, what the fuck you think you going out here, fucking ninja fucking man? What the fuck you think you are, cut? Think you are a blue ass motherfucker? You in the wrong fucking set, cut? Oh, you know.
I hate you.
What do you stop filming?